Hey, all you action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here, and welcome to a Friday edition of TNInews. So, before we get into today's news, let's do a quick roll call, see who is in the house. We've got bit my lip there. Got Austin in the house. Happy Friday to you. John is here, watching on the way home from work. Nice. Don't have an accident while you're watching. Hopefully, you're just kind of listening and not actually watching if you're driving. Eric, good Friday to you. We've got Paul. Good to see you, my friend. Quinn's Comics is here as well. Hoping you're having a toy-rific day. Got Mr. Allmine in the house. Good to see you. We've got Alonzo in the house. Let's rock the house. Happy Friday. Elio is here. The mass figure collector is here. What is up? What is up? William is here. So we got a pretty full house. Mike is here. Road Pig John. What's up? Rashid is here as well. So yeah, we got a pretty good full house here. All right, so let's get into today's news. Now, I don't have like tons of news. It's been a fairly slow week compared to like last week with New York Comic Con and everything, but I do have some things I wanted to share with you. And let's start off with let's see. Let's start off with something we talked a little bit about on Monday, and that was kind of the big bombshell that McFarlane Toys dropped in an interview with those guys with Adventure and Collecting podcast, where Todd said that he was going to be doing DC stuff through the end of 2026. So that kind of was a little bit what different than what everyone had thought, based on the Mattel press release that was put out earlier this year in February, when it indicated mid 2026 was when they were going to start doing um, stuff. So I reached out and got some clarification, and so the way this is going to work is Mattel is going to start producing kid-oriented stuff next year, in the middle, starting around the middle of next year. I still don't have exact dates, but I am told that we probably are going to get some more specific details from Mattel sooner rather than later. I don't know exactly what that means, but probably not as long as one might expect, even with the collector-oriented stuff. So um, I don't know if that's set in stone, but like I said, that's what was suggested to me, as far as when we'll get specifics. But as far as the collector oriented stuff, Mattel is not going to start producing that until 2027. So what Todd said about him basically doing DC stuff until the end of next year sounds to be accurate. You know, it, Sometimes Todd, when he does interviews, can he tends to talk off the cuff. There's no one there to say, hey, don't say this or don't do that, and sometimes he can get dates confused. So I, we had the two conflicting dates from the Mattel press release and the McFarlane Toys, and so it was causing some confusion. But it does in fact look like McFarlane Toys is going to be doing DC stuff till the end of next year, and then Mattel will pick things up with the collector stuff 2027. I don't know if it'll be like first thing January. It's quite possible, but I don't have specific dates. Um, but I think we will get that information sooner rather than later. And hopefully, like details like, is Mattel going to do 6-inch figures? Are they going to do 7-inch figures? Things like that. I am hoping that that information is going to come soon. Um, so what it sounds like is essentially what's going on here is, you may recall in 2020, McFarlane and Spin Master the license, when Mattel lost the license initially, it was split up into two portions. The kid oriented stuff went to Spin Master, the adult collector oriented stuff went to McFarlane. So I'm only speculating here. I haven't specifically heard anything from Spin Master, but but it sounds like the portion that went to Spin Master for the kid oriented stuff is going to revert back to Mattel in the middle of next year, which kind of makes sense because then they'll be able to get stuff out in time for the holidays for the kids, things like that. So, and then again, the adult collector oriented stuff, or basically the McFarlane aspect of the license, sounds like is going to go to Mattel starting at the beginning of next year. So we'll see how much stuff Todd can crank out. He's still, he now has basically a full, couple months left here in this year, but he's got a whole nother year to get stuff out for DC. Now, whether Todd is able to do anything DC related beyond that still remains totally unknown. Going back to that interview that Todd did at New York Comic Con, he did suggest that he was still maybe trying to work something out where he could maybe do DC direct type stuff or statues, similar to what we see with Marvel, where Hasbro does the action figures, but Todd was able to get that little nugget of the Marvel license to do the statue type stuff. So we might see that with DC as well. Again, I feel like Todd is still negotiating with Warner Brothers in regards to that. So that portion is probably not set in stone. But for the main, action figure stuff, again, McFarlane is going to be doing stuff until the end of next year, and then Mattel will pick up things at the beginning of 2027. Now, again, my initial thought was we wouldn't probably see anything from Mattel until at the earliest, uh, the big events that generally companies reveal things are San Diego Comic Con, which is July, New York Comic Con, which is October, but Mattel hasn't been at New York Comic Con in years. So I guess they could decide to make the trip to New York if they wanted to reveal stuff in October. That would be probably the best timing as far as if they were going to launch things at the beginning, starting in January, to start showing off product at New York Comic Con or something like that. But again, since they haven't been to New York Comic Con in some time, I don't know if that would be the case. July San Diego Comic Con is still a possibility. Definitely don't think, unless, like I say, we might get a little nugget of information here, maybe a first glimpse or something like that in the fairly near future. But like, I wouldn't expect Mattel, and I could be totally wrong. I'm just going based on past experiences when companies have handed off licenses to one and another. So usually like if McFarlane's going to be producing stuff through 2026, usually you don't see other companies trying to hoard in on that. They'll wait until essentially the very end, where then they start launching or showing off their products. So, but probably, I don't expect like Mattel to have collector oriented stuff on display at Toy Fair in 2026, which would be in February. And if they're going to start putting out stuff in January of 2027, then Toy Fair 2027 will be too late. So, and now Mattel might do their own thing as well. Sometimes they have their own kind of mini Toy Fair at their headquarters, so they could do something like that. So I don't know when we'll see, anything specific. Again, some indication that I was given by folks that I trust that suggests that, sooner rather than later, but that's something we'll just have to wait and see. But again, it's at this point, like I say, McFarlane through the end of next year, and then Mattel starting in 2027 for the adult collector stuff, and then Mattel will start producing more kid oriented type figures and products. I don't have any specifics of what they're going to do, but we'll start seeing the more kid oriented stuff from Mattel in the middle of next year. And like I say, I'm sure they'll have that on shelves in time for the 2026 holiday season. All right, so we got that out of the way. And let's keep it with DC and McFarlane. So stuff that just went up for pre-order, and this seems to be a current trend. Companies seem to be trying to crank out stuff as quickly as possible, maybe to get it out by the end of the year. I don't know, to generate as many sales as possible. But this new 2-pack that went up for pre-order during New York Comic Con is now in stock at Entertainment Earth. This is the Atom Smasher Spectre Mega Figure 2-pack. So again, that's actually in stock now. Um, it, at Entertainment Earth. I don't know if this is. I lose track between what's hitting physical stores and what's online and what's hitting overseas. So, but I don't recall seeing that overseas or hitting physical stores yet. That one. Um, these are the red platinum ones. We've talked about these before. This or was part of the wave with the Joker and the 0 Hour Superman. So Walmart and GameStop had these up for pre-order today. They're the only two places carrying these online. Looks like maybe they've sold out, at least at Walmart. I haven't checked GameStop. McFarlane store, I think, had these as well, but I think they sold out there as well. So these are, again, red platinum figures, which means they're going to be primarily available at physical stores, but, GameStop and Walmart were able to offer some of these online, a trend that we have been seeing more and more from McFarlane, as he seemingly is trying to drive people into physical stores to buy his products, making the stuff less and less accessible online. And so it's the Extant and the Cheetah figure. These are part of that DC Page Puncher line. And like I say, these went up for pre-order today. We had some Spawn figures, same pattern. These were available at GameStop. These, I don't know if these have sold out. Well, it says verify address, so that might mean it's regional. I don't know, but looks like you can probably still get this Call of Duty Spawn. We've talked about, I think, most of these. This white Spawn actually is only online available. It seems to be only available at EB Games Canada. So these are all, again, technically, these are all red platinum figures, which means you should be able to find them at physical Walmarts and Targets. These two, the other two, went up for pre-order, like I say, at GameStop. So it looks like that one is available as well. We had the first wave of Turtle figures from McFarlane Toys go up for pre-order this week. $28 each. Shredder and the Foot Soldier seem to be the two most popular. Last time I checked, those had sold out pretty much everywhere. Maybe Big Bad Toy Store still had Shredder. I'm not sure. No, it looks like they've sold. No, actually, they are still available. All of them are still available at Big Bad Toy Store. But Shredder and the Foot Soldier are sold out at Entertainment Earth. You can still buy like the set if you want all of them. And then Amazon is sold out of the Shredder. They do still have the Foot Soldier though, so you can get the Foot Soldier off of Amazon. Looks like on Amazon, Leonardo has sold out. But Donatello is still available on Amazon. So there you go. Oh, speaking of in stocks, these recent Masterverse figures, Mantenna and Mosquitor, are now in stock at Big Bad Toy Store. So, like I say, a lot of stuff coming in stock all at once. The Anti-Eternia He-Man, which also went up for pre-order the same day as those two, is not yet come in stock at Big Bad Toy Store. You can still pre-order them. Like originally, those Masterverse figures were listed with like February release dates. So I don't know how Big Bad Toy Store ended up getting them in so quickly, but there you go. Speaking of Masters of the Universe, the Mondo 2000X figures that were available on the Mondo store, though the pre-order window has closed on those, but now you can get He-Man from places like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. It does not look like they are making Clawful available at other e-tailers outside of Mondo. So unfortunately, if you passed on Clawful, I guess you'll have to go to the secondary market. But He-Man is available, $105 is the cost. You do not get the display base with this version, but you do get the multiple heads and his weapons and everything. Now remember, the second wave, which is Man at Arms and Skeletor, that goes up for pre-order next month at Mondo, and then I'm going to guess that only Skeletor will be available outside of the Mondo store website. It's kind of disappointing, and honestly, kind of a missed opportunity, I think, on Mondo's part for not making all the figures available outside of Mondo. I can understand like having the deluxe versions with the bases exclusive to Mondo, but they should really make all of the figures available outside of Mondo. I feel like they're going to limit themselves, but what do I know? I don't know. Also, let's keep it to Masters of the Universe. We had last week go up for pre-order the first wave of the Mattel 2000X figures. That's Triclops, Stratos, and He-Man with the deluxe Beastman. Those are still available for pre-order. But we also got new official images for Wave 2 and 3. So Zodiac, Evelyn, and Prince Adam. And there are listings for that wave on Walmart. And listings have started to pop up on Amazon. And I think Amazon UK even had these available for pre-order, the second wave. The deluxe figure in the second wave is supposed to be Ram Man. We've not gotten any official images for that. We saw it at San Diego back in July, but official images have not yet been released for the deluxe Ram Man. And then Man at Arms, Moss Man and Skeletor is the third wave, and I believe Clawful is the deluxe figure for that wave. So I don't know officially when these are going to go up for pre-order. Again, we just got wave 1 that went up for pre-order, but being that places are already putting listings and stuff up, I'm guessing this wave will be going up for pre-order fairly soon. And again, these are the Mattel Cartoon Collection 2000X figures. Skeletor does not come with a cape, unfortunately. But not as nice looking as the Mondo figures, but also not nearly as expensive. So if you don't want to spend the money on the Mondo stuff, then this is a nice alternative that Mattel is doing. Oh, also, I don't know if we talked about this on Monday, but this multi-robot figure is available for pre-order. So far, Amazon is the only place that has put this up for pre-order. I think it's still available. Yes. So I don't. It is an Amazon exclusive. Okay, so this one is only going to be available Amazon, and like I said, it is still available if you want to add that one to your Origins collection, the multi-bot. And then finally, we have going up on October 21st on Mattel Creations, the Origins Stingor, as he's called, so a Horde member. So this is a Mattel Creations exclusive. And again, this one is going to go up for pre-order for Club Grayskull members on the 21st at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and then for everyone else on the 22nd. So, fair amount of He-Man stuff. Let's see what else. Mondo's Over the Garden Wall Chapter 1 figure set. The non-Mondo exclusive version is now available at places like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. This 112 Collective Marv figure has gone up for pre-order. You can get it at places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. We saw this on display at New York Comic Con from Mezco, one of the few new reveals we saw there. So again, Marv done in black and white, essentially, with multiple heads, hands, weapons, from Sin City. So again, that is available for pre-order. Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth both have it. Or at least they did. I thought. Yeah. So $116 for Marv. If you're into Green Day, we got a new reaction figure of Dookie Dog. That's available for pre-order. Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, Amazon, as well as had this one up. So this is reaction, which pretty much seems like all Super 7 does these days, pretty much. Also, Micronauts, they're doing Reaction Plus versions of Micronauts. So Force Commander and Microtron, these went up for pre-order this week. So you want to check those out. G.I. Joe this week, we had the wave that was on debuted at New York Comic Con with Lifeline, Hit and Run, Big Lob, and the Night Viper, and the Mole Rat Stage 2. So those are available for pre-order everywhere. $28 is the MSRP. That's, we've talked about that before. The new MSRP for 6-inch figures from Hasbro. Though I will tell you, Amazon is charging even more for some reason for a lot of these figures. $30. That's Amazon. That's not Hasbro. And it's weird because going that new wave of figures with the Phantom Rider and stuff. So Phantom Rider, Iron Man, those are all $30. Logan, $30, but they discounted Werewolf by Night down to $25. So that's actually cheaper than everybody else. The Spider-Man $30, Enchantress $30, and then Warbow is the $27.99, which is what the MSRP on these are supposed to be. So I don't know what's up with Amazon why they're like discounting one figure. Another figure is the actual MSRP, and everything else they've jacked the price up even more. So really kind of weird with Amazon and their pricing, but there you go. Let's jump back to Marvel. So this week's pre-order was the Inhumans 2-pack with the Triton and the new Black Bolt figure. So $57.99 MSRP on that one. Available at all your favorite retailers. Next week's pre-order is going to be the second Inhuman 2-pack. So this image was provided by Dan Young on social media. So this is the Medusa and Gorgon figure. That one's going to cost a little bit more because of the bigger Gorgon figure inside. That one's going to go up for pre-order on, October 21st. And I'll get you the price on that one. That one's going to be $62.99. So we talked about that on Monday, but just a reminder, Mondo has got a new 1/6 scale X-Men 97 Storm figure. This is going to go up on the Mondo website on Tuesday, October 22nd. So Storm in her white outfit. 12-inch figure, of course. So if you've been collecting the Mondo 12-inch figures, this is one you may want to check out. For those of you, I don't think this probably will affect anybody watching here today, but apparently the Gamerverse SH figure, it's Spider-Man figure, which we talked about this one on Monday. I got to see it in hand at New York Comic Con. It was on display there. Really nice looking figure. I think they did a top-notch job on this one, capturing the look of Spider-Man from the Capcom video game. But apparently, in some Asian markets, this figure pre-orders are being canceled. The reason being given is some type of copyright issue. So I don't have any particulars on that, but from what I understand, in the Asian markets, only place this is going to be available is Japan. So places like Hong Kong, if you pre-ordered there, you're probably getting notification that your order has been canceled. Now, as far as I can tell, this is not going to affect orders in the United States or Europe. So if you've pre-ordered this one from someplace like Big Bad Toy Store or Entertainment Earth or Amazon, then you should still be getting this figure. So this copyright issue thing only apparently is affecting some of the Asian territories. Don't ask me why or what's going on with that. I don't know if there's another company that's throwing a fit about having a similar product. But again, main thing I just want to clarify is that this figure should still be available in the United States for those wanting to add it to your collection. We got a preview for a bloody version of Deadpool, or of Wolverine, I should say, from the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. This is for the Mafex line, so we should be getting probably more details on this very soon. Right now, we just have this one preview image. I think that's it for the Marvel front. And I think that's pretty much it. Nothing major on the Transformer front. Some prototype images from overseas have shown up for that Evangelion Prime Transformer collaborative figure. So the images come via Hobby Magazine, so thanks to them for providing these. Really nothing at all on the Star Wars front. Hot Toys Obi-Wan Kenobi figure has gone up for pre-order from Revenge of the Sith. I think we've talked about this figure before, but you can now pre-order it at places like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment or I'm not Entertainment Earth. Entertainment Earth doesn't carry Hot Toys, but Big Bad Toy Store does have it up for pre-order. Oh, I keep forgetting to talk about it. I meant to talk about this on Monday. But Hasbro getting into the Tron ball game, and the new movie came out, and from what I can tell, it does not seem to have done very well. I've seen mixed reviews from people. I've seen some people say it sucks. I've seen some people say it's fun, it's good. A lot of people seem to think like the visuals are good. I listened to the soundtrack. I was not terribly impressed with the soundtrack, and I'm probably going to wait for the movie to come out on like Disney Plus or something before I watch it. I don't know how confirmed this is, but supposedly Tron Ares is going to be the last Tron movie released in theaters. But Hasbro is doing some stuff, and this was all announced at New York Comic Con. Like I said, I meant to talk about this on Monday, but forgot. But for 6-inch guys, we're getting Tron Legacy figures. So Dwight Stahl has actually been working on this line. So again, these are 6-inch figures. both old and young Kurt Russell. We are going to get Cora as well in this line. They did not have her on display at Comic-Con, but she is going to be coming in the line. Now, these are going to be offered as Pulse exclusives. I have no word on price for these, but being they are going to be limited Pulse exclusives, they're probably going to be, not cheap. At least I'm going to say at least $30, but possibly even more. They're also doing a 6-inch light cycle from that movie. Tron is getting a figure as well. Even giving us an unmasked face, even though we never saw his actual Tron unmasked in the movie. But we're getting Bruce Boxleitner head sculpt with the figure. And then also announced was a new Haslab based on the original Tron movie for 3 3/4 inch folks. And I got to tell you, this is not seemingly doing very well. It needs a minimum of 10,000 backers. It is $260. It is 5 3 3/4 inch figures, 2 light cycles, and a lighted base. Is essentially what this boils down to. And all of it looks pretty good, though I will tell you, my personal opinion is there was a little bit of, in my opinion, a missed opportunity. I feel like they should have, with the lighted base, they should have made it so the lights made the figures and the light cycle blades light up. And at least from what I saw at New York Comic Con, that's not the case. In fact, the lighting is hardly even noticeable. I mean, granted, I was in a convention center, not in a dark room, but I don't know. I feel like if they had made this so it actually looked like everything lit up, then it would have been more a much cooler display piece and maybe making it more worth the money. But as it is, last time I checked, we hadn't even gotten over 1,000. We still haven't. We're at 971. So this launched during New York Comic Con, and we haven't even reached 1,000. And again, it needs a minimum of 10,000 backers to go into production. So I got to be honest with you, I'm not sure this one's going to make it. I think the price is a little bit hefty for 3 3/4 inch Tron. If this was a Star Wars item, much greater fan base, but I don't think there's going to be enough Tron fans to bail this thing out. So it does have a USB-C port, so you can keep the base lit all the time if you want. But again, the lighting to me really just didn't seem to add that much to the overall display. And I feel like that was kind of a missed opportunity. If they could have somehow made it so, they look like they lit up, like the blue lines and the red lines and the walls that come out of the back of the cycles, if it looked like they actually lit up, I feel like that would make it a much cooler display piece on your shelf that might be worth getting. But the figures look good for that scale. They did a really good job with the figures. You get some pretty cool accessories. So, it's not that they don't look good or anything. For that price and that scale, I just don't think there's going to be enough demand for these. And, like I say, the fact that this campaign's been live, I mean, it's got over 38 days left, but the fact that it's been live for over a week and still hasn't even reached 1,000 backers, to me, does not bode well for this making its funding goal. Now, the way these bikes work is you can actually pop off the outer part and then set your figure inside, and then and then snap the outer shell back on, and you can see them in like the windows and stuff. No red cycles. But you get the blue and the but see, like even on the packaging, where they're lit up here, if they just somehow could have incorporated the lighting of the base made that all translucent or something, with light piping or such, then I feel like that would have just been very cool. And even at the 260 might be worth getting. And of course the figures are individually packaged, and they have their own card backs. I saw a lot of people like getting excited with this Hasbro 3.375 thing. Like they think the Hasbro is going to start doing heavily investing in 3 3/4 inch figures, and I don't think that's the case, especially with you know how this campaign is not seemingly doing that great. So if obviously we got vintage collection Star Wars, but anyone hoping that we're going to see a revitalization of 3.75-inch figures from Hasbro for all their various lines, I think you're sorely mistaken. And I think price is a big issue for that. I just think, people think 3.75-inch, they shouldn't be that expensive. But unfortunately, in today's market, that's just not the case. So that's why I think 6-inch generally does better, because it at least kind of seems like you're getting more for your money. But like I say, what do I know? All right. So I think that covers pretty much everything. Oh, this is a weird one. So this is Mattel Creations. In fact, I'm going to bet this is sold out. Let me check. Yes or no. I guess you're going to get another chance at it on October 17th. But so this is for you Monster High fans, but it's alien. It's a xenomorph Monster High doll. So like I said, that's definitely a weird one. Um, and like I said, there were $85. Looks like today's pre-orders have since sold out, but you'll get another shot at it. Jazzware's AEW Timeless Tony Storm figure is available on the Jazzware Vault. Just making sure that we've gotten everything covered here. For you, speaking of 3.75-inch fans, this Kickstarter is in its final week. Solid Raven, Rise of Nexus figures. So this is actually a sponsor of Toy News International. Figures are going about $23 each. Last time I checked, I don't know why that didn't work, but 41,000 of its 60,000 goals, so it's got 5 days to go. So we'll see if that one goes. But if you're into 3.75-inch figures, you might want to check that one out. The Rise of Nexus. Biker Mars. This is revealed at Comic-Con, but I don't think I talked about these. So some new Biker Mice from Mars, Wave 3 Rimfire figures, as well as a reveal of a mini throttle. So smaller scale figures that Nacelle's doing 3.75-inch. So that's the regular size, the Rimfire there. What are these? I want to say these are 6-inch or maybe 7-inch, but this one is part of a 3.75-inch line. Yeah, so that pretty much brings us current for all the main news. So, like I say, I don't know if that Tron Haslab's going to make it or not. Like I say, it's cool. If it was a little bit cheaper, I think it would probably do better. I'm not saying, I'm sure Hasbro priced it as low as they could, but I just think, you're just not looking at enough of a fan base with Tron to get enough people to put that much money down on something like that. As far as the 6-inch figures go, like I say, it's going to depend on what the price of those. And I'm assuming those are going to be either made to pre order or just general pre order. Again, they're going to be Hasbro Pulse exclusive, so they're going to be fairly limited, which means price is probably going to be even higher than a normal 6-inch figure. So I don't know. I I thought Tron Legacy was a great movie, but it was 15 years ago, and it actually didn't do well at the box office. So it's hard to know how figures like that at this stage are going to do. Again, unfortunately, the Neutron Ares movie, while it got some positive reviews from people, does not seem to have done very well at the box office overall. So I'd be curious though, like if anybody out there watching here, did you watch the Neutron Ares movie? Um, was it good? And I'm more interested. I'm sure the special effects and the visuals, especially like on the big IMAX screens, look good. But I'm more interested about the story. And I know there were some Easter egg teases. I've seen some of the trailers and stuff tying into the at least the original Tron movie. But I really, to me, it just didn't seem like they did much to really tie it into the last movie. And the last movie, sorry, Salome's once again uh, going in front of the camera, but once again, they really with Cora and Flynn's son had taken over the company with the help of Tron, the Bruce Boxleitner character and stuff, and as far as I know, of none of those people were in this movie, so I don't know. That's really what kind of lost my interest in this new movie because it just didn't really seem to have much connection with the last movie. Just going back through your comments. Novan and Art, I'm so over McFarlane. Having DC, I want more superpowers either way, though. So that's a question I'd really like to know. I don't really feel like I'm going to get that good of a feel, but I want to know how many people are like excited Mattel this for Mattel, and how many people are like sad for McFarlane no longer doing DC at the end of next year. Like what's the mix? I feel like Todd is definitely not ingratiated himself very well with the way he's handled a lot of the online orders this past year with all the Red Platinum stuff and the very limited releases online. Um, again, it seems like he wants to try and make people go into the physical stores, probably because he wants to be in the good graces of Walmart and Target. But I just think that is a very outdated way of treating this hobby. Those days of people running into Walmarts and Targets to try and buy figures, I just is not going to come back in any real way. I have no problem making stuff available at physical stores, especially if those physical stores would actually fix their distributions. So it's not just the same stores in certain areas that get all the inventory. But, I feel like, a lot of people these days, they just do the majority of their buying online. And so trying to force people to change that, I think, is not a good idea. I understand wanting to have your products in Walmart and Target, I understand that from McFarlane's standpoint, once they lose the DC license, you know, are they really going to have anything that Target and Walmart are going to be that interested in wanting to carry? So are they going to find that their shelf, that they're going to start losing shelf space at those places? So, I understand from the business aspect to want to be in the graces of Walmart and Target, but I feel like you're probably alienating people and hurting the smaller e-tailers and stuff more than anything with those actions. Mr. Allmine says Todd's Turtles are insanely overpriced. Yeah, they're basically the same price as a Marvel Legend today. Daniel says from Nacelle Company, still waiting for Cowboys of Moo Mesa to land. Have those figures not? I have not followed that line that closely, so have those figures not been released yet? Of course, neither of their Star Trek figures. So they've announced 4 waves of Star Trek figures, but they've yet to release any of them. I have twins, cheaper lines like Superpowers were dope option compared to Multiverse. Yeah, I definitely feel like in the last wave, making the Wonder Twin, one of the Wonder Twins, especially the one with Gleek, the red platinum, was again kind of a dick move, but yeah, I liked the '66 retro Batman stuff. I thought that was a fun line that was fairly cheap. I'm happy with my '66 Batmobile more so probably than I would be with the newer DC Multiverse one that's going to cost more money. Um, and not really have that much more in the way of details. Obviously it'll be a little larger scale, but I'm actually pretty happy with the one that they did, the cheaper one that they did for the 66 6-inch line. And up until, like I say, this last year, I thought, I was pretty content. That's not to say we didn't have some chases and things like that. Nothing's going to be perfect, but I really do feel like in this last year, Todd has probably alienated some of the fan base out there with his actions. And I love reaction, but annoyed Super 7 just doesn't finish stuff. Been waiting for reaction Thundercats for years. And more Silverhawks. Mike wants to know who the hell is Force Commander. I had tons of Micronauts, but only recognized the 2 robots. How come they're not doing any of the Micronauts themselves? That I could not tell you because I'm just not that knowledgeable of Micronauts. I'm aware of them. I had one issue of the comic book series back in the day, I believe, that was put out by Marvel, but I never really collected the toys or anything. I remember, I think it was it the 4 Horsemen that tried to, I remember Palisades Toys was going to do a really elaborate, I think it was Palisades, was going to do a really elaborate Micronauts line and the larger 6-inch scale and stuff, but then they went belly up. But I think I want to say 4 Horsemen tried to do some Micronauts, or maybe I'm thinking Power Lords. That was what they tried to do. Mr. Allmine Tron Haslab is super overpriced. Hanzo says Disney is burying the franchise for another 10 plus years. We may get one animated show eventually. Who knows? Tron Uprising never got a second season. Yeah, that cartoon was good. I like that cartoon. But again, I love Tron Legacy. I love the soundtrack. That's one of the best movie soundtracks from Daft Punk. And I thought the movie was really good. I don't know why more people didn't like that movie. Yeah, this young CGI Kurt not, I said Kurt Russell before, didn't I? Jeff Bridges. Um, the young CGI Jeff Bridges, wasn't like fantastic. It was a little weird looking at times, but still, I liked that movie and I thought it was done pretty well. But and this new one may be even decent. I may end up enjoying this one. There wasn't enough that I saw in the trailers that made me want to go run out to the theater and see it. So I'll wait and watch it. Yeah, John, say I meant Jeff Bridges. Yeah, see, I knew you guys would. I caught myself before I came down on your guys' comments, but yes, I definitely meant Jeff Bridges. They try with the light cycle ride at Disney parks and release merchandise from Tron Legacy. Also, the game. Well, I mean, and Diamond Select Toys did some Tron figures um, from the original movie. Like the only one I think that did stuff from Tron Legacy was Spin Master, and those were pretty bad. Those toys were not very good. Um, but like I still have back, with my Tron video game, have some of the Diamond Select toys, the translucent ones, um, on my video game back there. Phil says it needs to be $100 less. The idea that people want bundles is crazy. They do the same thing with Star Wars. It stinks. I think that's more of a like they probably know that there are certain figures in every property. There's going to be figures that sell better than others. So when they do bundles like that, it's usually because they're trying to get you to buy all the figures, not just like the main characters or what have you. So I kind of get that, but yeah, I also get your point of view as well. Like 967, people are excited. Only 9,000 more backers to go. Maybe put Tron in an actual Tron movie. He was in Tron Uprising, which was cool. Don't know why they always hesitate. Well, I think age, Bruce Boxleitner is no spring chicken, so and so I think age is part of it. I mean, in Tron Legacy, they basically, that wasn't really Bruce Boxleitner that was running around in that outfit, but they had his face covered the whole time. So we got the old human version of that character in the movie because he had aged, but we didn't actually see him as Tron. Now in the cartoon, obviously they can make him look young and stuff. But that I think is why you're not getting actual Tron is the primary character in these, Tron sequel movies. John says, I don't know which is worse, the Tron Haslab or the Energon Prime with the Megatron. I got well, I thought the Prime with the Megatron arm is just silly in general. I feel like I've never once sat there and go, God, I wish I could have an Optimus Prime with a Megatron arm in canon. I mean, I know it's something from the comics, but like I saw that figure and I'm like, what the hell is that? And yeah, $80 for it doesn't help either. But that's just like something where it's like, well, why did we need that? I don't see a lot of other well, the original Tron figures were 3.75. If back in the day, um, in fact, I had one or two of those. They were translucent plastic. They were pretty cool. I mean, minimal articulation, like Star Wars, 5 points of articulation type thing. But I think that's kind of the nod to those. Plus, I mean, I have no idea why they chose 3.65, other than it would be even more expensive if they were 6-inch scale. So yeah, Steve Arena, something like, I agree, something like that, where it looks like the stuff is lit up. If the light actually had a practical use of making the figures and the cycles look like they actually light up like they did in the movie, that would be an awesome display piece. Even if it was a little overpriced, just to have a cool display piece like that might be worth it. But with this, like I say, I looked at that set and it was like the light really just didn't seem to add very much. So it was almost like you could have done without the light. Quinn's Comics. Hasbro should have started with 6. Yeah, though, again, also remember though. So, like I say, original line was 3.75-inch. Diamond Select Toys, in not so far distant past, has done 7-inch Tron figures from the original movie. So they may have just felt like there might be more demand for the 3.75-inch than 6 or 7-inch scale type figures. And being that we hadn't gotten any kind of good 6 or 7-inch scale Tron Legacy figures, that's probably why they decided to make those the 6-inch. So, again, I'm only speculating here, but it might be they went with that scale because they thought that another company had already done a very similar scale fairly recently for the original movie, and they wanted to kind of have something different. John says, I got special screening tickets for Tron Ares movie, and I have to say I did like it, but I would give it a 6 out of 10. And like I said, to me, I'm really without specific spoilers, how much of a connection was it to the first two movies? Other than, like I say, I know Jeff Bridges has at least some type of cameo in the movie. I've seen that in the trailer. I saw the classic light cycle that the Jared Leto character ends up using. But those struck me more as just, oh, we've got to throw something in there to connect it to the original movies, as opposed to doing a story that actually is meant to carry on the story that was already started in the last movie. Hanzo says, I'm a huge fan of Tron and was not at all hyped for this movie. I will eventually watch it, but in my view, it looks like a franchise killer. Jerry says, found Wong, Doctor Strange, and Zola Zima 2-packs at Ross. Check it. Yep, Ross has been getting some stuff in. But I also will tell you that if you don't feel like hunting around at Ross stores, you're probably going to see those same figures discounted on Amazon as we head into the holidays. We already saw them somewhat discounted. I think Ross had them at a bigger discount, but we already saw those discounted during like Prime Days and stuff. And as we get closer to the holidays, my guess is you'll see those same product discounted on Amazon. But yes, Ross has been getting a new batch of Hasbro stuff, Marvel Legends, some GI Joe. I've seen, forget what else, but Hanzo says McFarlane started to abuse the license even before he knew he was going to lose it with the idiotic, convoluted sticker marketing system. Yeah, though we don't really know. We know when it was announced by Mattel, but we don't really know at what point Todd knew he was not going to be renewing that license. So, negotiations for that kind of thing, they go well in advance. So Todd may have known much sooner than anyone in the general public knew that, they were going to lose the license. What I don't really know want or understand is, I understand that the Mattel press release, was kind of vague with its date, saying just the mid, even though it does in the actual paragraph, it does include adult collector stuff, but then says mid. But it's not the Mattel press release was not really differentiating the adult collector oriented market stuff and the kid oriented stuff. It was basically just saying Mattel is going to start doing DC stuff starting in the middle of 2026. And I do agree that that was a little faux pas on Mattel's part. They should have been a little more specific, differentiating between the two categories. But especially with a large corporation like Mattel, I can kind of see why that kind of slipped through the cracks. But what I don't get is why Todd didn't state sooner. I mean, he was asked about this at Toy Fair earlier in the year after the press release had come out, and nobody was like giving any kind of specific dates. We were just hearing things. Oh yeah, you're going to continue to see product into 2026. And stuff, but nobody, why are we just now hearing that McFarlane is going to continue until the end of 2026? That to me is a little bit weird and that goes for both Mattel and McFarlane, why neither side opted to give a more specific date. I mean, I guess from Todd's standpoint, I guess I could maybe understand him wanting to keep it vague because there's definitely an aspect that says, oh, well, once people know that Todd is no longer going to keep doing McFarlane or DC stuff, what's the point of continuing to buy whatever stuff that he puts out before he loses the license? Because, there's not a future there. And so then you're going to have to start all over with another company. So I guess I could kind of understand that. But I mean, it was back when the announcement was first made, we were looking at basically 2 years left of McFarlane still having the license. So I feel like there wasn't that much of a need to keep things so vague. But that's the toy industry for you. Everyone treats everything like it's a super top secret government secret. Um, and it's always seemingly been that way. So and like I say, I don't really like the way McFarlane has handled the line in the last year, but I will tell you that I think he did some pretty good things in the line as well. Um, I think he did great with the vehicles. He made that they weren't like they were affordable but they still looked decent enough to display on your shelf. They weren't perfect, but like I say, compared to other large scale vehicles, they were fairly affordable. Um, some of the some of the figures were hit or miss. Some of the figures were harder to get than others. But that's you can say that about almost any major action figure line. So I think he did. I thought he did pretty well overall. Could have definitely given us more female characters that weren't just limited releases. Would have been nice if we gotten more comic book based Wonder Woman early on in the line. Normal Wonder Woman. That we have to buy a Godzilla figure to get a somewhat normal looking Wonder Woman. It's kind of annoying. And, years into the line, we're finally getting that. But, this, like I said, the 66 retro stuff, I thought actually, cheap, but good. I enjoyed the 66 Batman series. I really wasn't into the Super Friends and the more cartoon oriented stuff, but I really did like the figures he gave us for the 66 Batman TV series and the vehicles and the Batcave, even though, again, that Batcave is not like anything super elaborate, but it also wasn't super expensive. So John says micronauts are tied up among several companies. We're lucky to get anything at this point. Daniel says, also indifferent on Mattel. I've realistically completed my DC display. I might cherry pick a bit, but honestly, I've got my display completed. I like a lot of the movie stuff that Todd gave us for like the Michael Keaton era. I wish we had gotten a Jack Nicholson Joker. I don't think that's going to happen even in the last year. But so that's my one big regret on that front, that I don't think we're going to get a Jack Nicholson Joker. Whether Mattel pulls that off at some point, I don't know. But the Christopher Reeve Superman, I thought actually ended up coming out pretty well. The Michael Keaton, not perfect, but I think it displays well on my shelf and such. So Eric said, ever since I was a kid, Tron has always been treated as a nerd's franchise. I had a hard time getting my family to watch it back in the day, so I presume a lot of people haven't made the connection. Well, yeah, I mean, Tron was never like on a level of like a Star Wars or something. And it was back then in the early 80s. Nowadays having like a cyber world like that is not terribly far-fetched, but back then it was kind of a stretch of a concept to begin with. um so I think it helped Jeff Bridges career. um I want to, I won't swear to it, but I want to say, if not the first, one of the very first movies that kind of started to make him a household name. So, and the special effects at the time, compared to today's special effects, are somewhat laughable, but I thought for back then they did a pretty good job. But yes, it was a very small knit. I mean, it's kind of like Black Hole. I don't know how many of you have ever seen the Disney movie Black Hole, but kind of the same thing with that. Both Tron and Black Hole I kind of put in that same boat, where they developed kind of like followings, but they were never really like mainstream or anything like that. Yep. Hanzo reiterating what John had said, Micronauts is locked behind a ton of legal paperwork. They couldn't use the term microverse in the MCU. Marvel can reprint the original comics, but does not include film, television, animation rights. Steve Reno says he found at Ross Black Series Battle Droid 3-pack. Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. The was it side? Yeah, it was Hot Toys that did do back then. But I mean, is obviously that's a much higher end, expensive figure. But as far as like just regular figures that you buy on the shelves, we only got something from Spin Master, and like I said, those were not very good figures. It would totally Todd say fuck it and release a Jack Nicholson Joker on the last day of his license. I think I think it's about cost. I mean, if you going back to the interview he did at New York Comic Con, because they brought the Jack Nicholson Joker up, um, and I think what it comes down to is Jack Nicholson's likeness rights are not included under the normal licensing rights that come from Warner Brothers. So it would require somebody to actually go to the Jack Nicholson estate and negotiate with them. And I'm sure they're going to want more money on top of what, has already been paid out for just the general DC Warner Brothers license. So I think that makes it a Jack Nicholson Joker very cost prohibitive. It would be a huge seller. There's very little doubt about that, but that still might not be enough to justify the extra costs that they likely would have to pay. Now, how Beast Kingdom was able to do one, Hot Toys, much higher end figure, much more costly figure. I think you could probably see how they, just because of the expensiveness of that figure, that they could make that work. But obviously Beast Kingdom figures can be more expensive, but Beast Kingdom is, to me, I'd love to know how they pulled that off. Other companies doing the smaller scale stuff, that's, Jack Nicholson like, but not actually Jack Nicholson's likeness. So, we've got those Spin Master figures coming out with the Joker in it, but looks nothing like Jack Nicholson. Doesn't even have Jack Nicholson Joker on the packaging artwork. So Mezco's 5-point figures, that one, I don't know if that is using Jack Nicholson's likeness, or, that one's like, that could be a fine line, I feel like. But yeah, unfortunately, I just don't think we're going to see, honestly, from anybody, a 6-inch or 7-inch scale Jack Nicholson Joker. I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope somebody does surprise us, but I am finding it hard to believe that will ever really happen. The Beast Kingdom one is probably the closest we're going to get. They made the silly De Niro set, but that probably, De Niro's likeness rates probably were included with the Joker movie, I'm guessing. But like I say, I'm pretty sure with Jack Nicholson, for anyone to do a Jack Nicholson figure, they're going to have to go directly to Jack Nicholson. And if he's even interested in having an action figure made of himself, is probably going to charge a pretty penny. He may, he and his estate may not even be, sometimes they're not even interested in it. It's not even necessarily about money. They just don't really want it to be done. All right, guys, we are over the hour, so we're going to call it a day. But as always, thank you for joining us. Salome is over here staying out of trouble for the moment. But appreciate you guys tuning in as always. I'll be back next week, if not Monday, sometime next week, either Wednesday or Friday. Slow, again, kind of be probably slow next week for news. We do have the Marvel Legend pre-order with the second Inhumans 2-pack, or third, I should say, technically, because the first one was the Crystal and Lockjaw 2-pack. The one this week, and then the final one with Medusa and Gorgon. So that's next week's pre-order for Marvel Legends. At the end of the month, we will have MCM London, so things will pick up a bit, at the end of the month with a few more reveals. But honestly, I feel like a lot of people just they've been hit so hard here over the last month with all these pre-orders coming into stock and everything. So people's wallets really probably just can use a break. But anyway, guys, and William says 20 more days to go until Legion Con. Just saying. I think I'm going to try and go to Legion Con this year. I've never been to Legion Con, but I hear good things about it. So, and it's not that far away. I mean, it's not a short drive, but I could probably make the drive to it. So honestly, these days I'm not looking to fly anywhere. So trying to stay off airplanes as much as possible, but I could definitely drive to that show. So, but all right, guys, stay safe out there. Have a great weekend. Until next time, I will catch you later. Thanks for watching today's video. If you're new to the channel, think about subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. You can also think about becoming an action figure enthusiast channel member. There's a link in the video description below with more details on that. Check out all the names of everyone who's already joined, scrolling down at the bottom of your screen. And for the latest in action figure news, be sure to head over to toynewseye.com, marvelousnews.com, JediInsider.com, and tformers.com. And remember, action figures are great!